one graduate, we have graduates who graduated 10 years ago or more. And the reason why we saw them in the streets is because of unemployment. Some of them said, I'm even dead. I'm already dead. Because how do you employ somebody who graduated last year? And then there is another person who graduated 15 years ago, is now 46 years old, 40 years old, with a first-class honors, and is in the village. And his sibling is telling him, why are you even talking about education? I graduated 15 years ago, and I'm jobless. I mean, my brother graduated 15 years ago, and is jobless. And you are here telling us about education. So we really need, my friend, you need, this I think requires a multi-sectoral approach. See to their counterpart in public service. See to their counterpart in education. Probably borrow a leaf from TSC, where they say, first come, first serve. Why should this other guy, the parent has struggled as a degree, retire before getting a job? And somebody who graduated last year, because of the networks, the connections, gets a job before the other. And that takes me to the question of corruption. You must tell us how you're going to deal with the aspect of corruption so that there is equity in distribution of jobs, so that there is fairness in the manner we actually procure, and so that there is no nepotism. That now, because it is Mutua in this Ministry of Labor, it is only people from your region who will have to go to take these jobs in the US or in Germany. I think that is my concern. Once we address that as a country, then I can assure you we will not have young people in the streets. Thank you.
Caleb.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have 3 questions, but I'll ask one. If I get an opportunity later, I'll ask the other 2.
I'll allow you to.
Okay. Now, Mr. Speaker, I think I have vetted the nominee before, and of course, as a member of the Committee of Defense and Foreign Relations, we have interacted a lot. And I'm not going to vet you based on what you're going to do. I'm now going to look at your history. You've said that you've worked in government for 20 years. And I want to give you some of the excerpts from what you've said in public while serving in those offices. When you were the spokesperson of Kibaki regime, their press conference and pronouncement you made on Oscar Foundation, 2 hours later the officials were killed, assassinated. It gave the regime a bad name. Whether it was true or not, the pronouncement gave the regime a bad name. In the same regime, you also pronounced yourself to the visiting senator, Senator Obama, as a very small man that you should not bother about. He later became the president of the United States of America. It also gave your regime a bad name. Later on, you also said that you want to rejuvenate the entertainment industry. And you started a Cobra Squad as one of the things that you knew this one is going to revitalize the arts and the music industry. It performed poorly and later disappeared from the screen. In the same regime, we also, during the Kazi kwa Vijana initiative, you said that all the old trees in town must be cut and instead replaced with flowers to beautify Nairobi. Something that did not go on well with the environmentalists and the champions of tree planting. When you become the governor of Machakos, you started a program called Chap Chap, Maendeleo Chap Chap, bought ambulances and all that. Most of those programs flopped, and nothing much came out of it. You actually turned it into a party called Maendeleo Chap Chap instead of the Maendeleo itself. Later on, during the stint as a governor, you once visited the State House with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and you confessed that
be fair to him, it was not a stint. He served 2 terms.
Yes, 2 terms.
Yes.
So around that time, you visited State House with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga in a state event, and you said the president now serving, who was then the deputy president, squeezed your hand very hardly and painfully. You even reported to the Kilimani police station nothing came out of that case. Recently, as a Minister for Foreign Affairs, on an X, what is now called X, it was called then Twitter, when Turkey had a devastating earthquake where thousands of lives were lost, you promised on the behalf of the Kenyan government that food and the medicine will be donated to that country. Right now, even the officials of Kenya in Turkey are embarrassed to face the government there because nothing was delivered. And it has embarrassed this country forever in terms of Turkey and the Kenya relationship. And lastly, where you just came from, as a Minister for Tourism, you said that all tourists arriving here must plant trees, and they'll even have a fee on it to buy the local seedlings. Something that we don't know whether it was passed by the cabinet, where it was a road declaration. This one puts a lot of skeleton in your closet. What do you say about it?
Mishi?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable
Mishi,
Chairman.
let you hold. I think that's quite a mouthful. Let's have those two. We have had, oh, it's three, yes. Dawood, Mary, and Mrs. Churchit.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So let me start with Honorable Dawood. Just to clarify on the figures, is that there were the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife, especially the Department of Wildlife, through KWS, were advertising for tenders that are being given at an approximately 3 million shillings a kilometer, which means when you have 300 million as an allocation, you only have 100 kilometers. And by bringing it down to 850, instead of 100 kilometers, we're able to get 352 kilometers of fencing. And that saves money for Wananchi. About the jobs, and I'm glad because you were there during that meeting when the president talked about compensation to people. We started the process, and one of the challenges that we face in this country is bureaucracy. The president gives directives, and then they are caught in the annals of bureaucracy, treasury, through the systems going on. The process had started, and I hope it will continue. We did not meet the target because of the normal bureaucracies of getting money from here to go here, even though the money is there, but it is something that will be carried out. It's, I like the fact that you discussed the various disability and the challenges that are there, and especially in ensuring that people are given the rights they deserve. Mr. Speaker, we give you an example. I'll never forget this. During the campaign period, I accompanied His Excellency the President, then he was the Deputy President and a candidate, on an economic forum that was held at Racecourse with members of people living with disabilities. And one lady spoke about the challenges she faces as an employee because her child has autism, and the problem she faces because she can't even take time off for some of the things that need to be done to take care of that child, and the lack of support systems, and the challenges that our people living with disabilities go through. And it was quite sad because I remember when the president stood to speak, he, for about 2 minutes, could not speak. His voice was choking. And he promised that people will not, in this country, go through the challenges they go through just because your child is disabled or you're facing a form of disability. And my mandate, if approved and appointed and sworn in, is to ensure that that promise that the president gave, that I vividly remember, is enacted. And I think we will have done our job making sure that people live well. When I was the government of Machakos, I was, I think, the only governor who enacted the Disability Act by declaring that no building constructed in Machakos or operating in Machakos could operate without, places where would be comfortable for the disabled, for example, with ramps and others. And we shut down buildings we shut down supermarkets until they build those ramps. I want to even take it further. I'll even have my own rules, like the Michuki rules, showing people occupational health hazards, disability, things that needs to be done. When somebody is hard of seeing and they go into a building with lifts, including Parliament, why do they need somebody to come and help them identify which number? If you go to London, you go to Australia, even go to South Africa, the numbers on the keypads of pushing the buttons for a lift have braille. And so we need to standardize some of these issues so that the disabled can also live a good life. I want to reply to Madam Emasi, and I totally agree with her.
You know, he's not answered one question. And, you know, he talked about the wildlife compensation bureaucracy. I want to put it to him, he's part of that bureaucracy, which he has not told us how much did he manage within the 60 days His Excellency gave him. And he's not talked about the job centers as well.
I mean, how many did you pay in the time you are in tourism?
In tourism, we processed and we have paid close to 1 billion shillings. The pending human wildlife compensation that is there from from the 2015-2020, we're looking at about 7 billion shillings that need to be paid. And you know, you pay according to the exchequer that you receive and the clearances that are given through the exchequer.
Paid $1 million.
We paid 1 billion.
1 billion.
1 billion shillings, and the paying is still ongoing, and the process are going. And I've been able to streamline. And what we've done is that we've put together a scheme service, and we got a scheme administrator. So it's not just the government officials sitting down with paperwork. Who now, when there's a human wildlife conflict, we've even bought motorcycles for people to be able to visit the homes, take the documents digitally, and those are captured digitally, so that there's no paperwork that has to go to the chief and all the process that takes 6 months, so that the payment schedule is there waiting for the payment, and that's where we are. About the job linkages, is that, as I answered earlier on, Mheshimiwa Shungwa, is to connect the people through proper communication and teaching people on how to do it. But also, let me take this opportunity to talk about that we are not just about sending jobs people to go overseas. We want to bring jobs here. And outsourcing of jobs is an opportunity. Today, in the world, when you talk about labor migration, Philippines is leading. But from my research, Philippines is no longer sending people overseas, but more people are getting jobs in Philippines, within Philippines grounds, by BPOs, you know? And we are going to, and I'm going to push, if I'm confirmed, to get more companies to bring their outsourcing to Kenya for accounting services, for telemedicine services, for telephony services, so that people can work from here for overseas firms, but in Kenya. And that can just be as many people as the ones that we are sending people overseas to work. So it's an area that I'm quite committed. Mheshimiwa Emasi had a very good point, and that is clearly that when Kenya Kwanza was campaigning, remember the slogan by yours truly, Mheshimiwa Speaker, that mtoto wa maskini na tajiri watakaa kwa meza moja. It is not just about who knows who in our country. And that is a system that we want to put into place. And the high unemployment that we have here is also based on skill development, because you need at times to retrain yourself to the market. You've studied to be an engineer, and there's a finite number of employment opportunities for engineering. And if they're not there, they're not there. And so at times we need to show people how they can restudy and get new skills to add on to the skills that they have, and also how to be able to diversify. And so the area of skill development is very key. For example, the issue of languages. Opportunities arise with languages. And one of the things that I'm going to push is for our TVETs and our skill development, so that as you learn to be an electrician, you're also learning a foreign language, German. You know, you're learning Spanish, you're learning Italian, so that by the time you're done and there's an opportunity in those foreign countries, you go and plug and play. At least you've got basic understanding of those languages. But also, we need to train people for ways they can get jobs. For example, Canada, when we had a discussion, had specifically say that for them, for plumbers or electricians, there are basic minimums that people need to have, certain ways of doing things, so that we have our curriculum based on the market. When I was served as the Minister of Tourism and Wildlife, I started changing the way utalii works. Because utalii has been churning people out with the same skills that they had from the 1970s and 80s. Vile unapanga kitambaa, vijiko, the way you cook is the 70s and 80s. The world has changed. So that now the market tells you these are the new international standards. So that when people leave utalii college, for example, or leave any TVET, they don't have to be retrained to work anywhere. So that it's plug and play. So that is very important. Now let me come to the issue of corruption, and I have always been known to be very fair in terms of work and labor. And I'm going to ensure, like what our president has told us, that you do not nominate me to be a cabinet secretary if approved of Ukambani or Machakos, where I come from, but a cabinet secretary of the entire country. Because nobody sends a postcard to be born from Luya land, or from Kisii land, or from Turkana, or from Kiambu, or from Coast. Nobody sends a postcard to God. It's where you're born. And you have a right to receive government services properly without fear and favor. And it's the same way in terms of opportunities for jobs across the entire. So I'm going to work with my colleagues, and our president has been at the forefront of this, and if I'm getting an opportunity to join his cabinet, we're going to push this to ensure that there's equity in terms of people getting opportunities, especially also people suffering with disabilities, and also our young men and women who can work. Honorable Caleb, Mheshimiwa Speaker, has made quite a few allegations, and I'm going to answer them one by one. And it's unfortunate that most of them are basic propaganda, but I'm going to prove so. Number one, the Oscar Foundation issue that happened was quite unfortunate. Yes, Mr. Speaker.
But it doesn't come at the end. As a Kenyan who has sent a message that you took the former president of Machakos to launch a modern Dubai-like city. He's asking me to ask you, where is it?
Thank you. The Oscar Foundation issue, we had a security meeting in the morning, and I want this to go on record, and led by the head of public service then, police commissioner and others, as a government spokesperson, and we agreed that this was a statement that was going to be issued. The president was briefed. I issued the statement because the legal practitioner and I think the DPP was preparing documents to be able to arrest and take them to court. Later on, after that statement, we heard about the murder or the shooting right outside Parliament of the people that we had also mentioned. It was pretty unfortunate, and I had nothing to do with it. I was doing my job as agreed in a proper government system. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, you have traveled to the US, and like all houses of Parliament and Senate, when you go in as a freshman, and then you're a sophomore, and then you're a junior, and then you're a senior. So you start in the US system as a sophomore, you start at the bottom, and you work your way up, so you become now a senior senator, a senior document. So when we got the letter from the American Embassy about former President Obama coming to Kenya, the title was the Junior Senator of Illinois, which in the US is actually a positive. It means you're not a freshman, you're not a sophomore, and that you're nearly a senior, that you have graduated, you're actually high in rank. You're not a junior. You're not, you know what I mean? So you're the junior senator, and that's the American system. And I studied in the US myself, and that's a system even when you enter university. You're a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, and a senior. And so when we issued a statement referring to the letter of the Americans talking about the junior senator of Illinois who visited, you look at my statement, that is how we were mentioning his title And that is the title he had. It was nothing to do with demeaning Obama, who he believed in. It had nothing to do with the comments he said. It was basically his title. You are a majority leader, you're a speaker, you're a minority leader. That's how it's a title that he had at that particular time. Number 3, you asked about Cobra Squad. Cobra Squad was a personal initiative, very successful. I want to say that I bought my house in Nairobi with proceeds from Cobra Squad and went on to produce many other shows like Beba Beba, which I think you've seen it, and many other shows that my company still produce and do other things. And Cobra Squad was very successful, even across Africa. Even today, I still get royalties from it being shown in Zambia, Tanzania, and many other countries. During our second season, after the end of our second season, one of our main actors unfortunately died in the fire that engulfed the former Nakumat that was at Moi Avenue. And it was felt that we could not continue with the third season after that tragedy. And that is how we stopped Cobra Squad, out of respect for the death of one of our workers. So, Mheshimiwa Caleb, it was not a failure, it was a success, big success. But also we are people with a heart. About Kazi kwa Vijana and the tree planting and the organization, I took the former mayor, not mayor, town clerk, Gakuo, together with some colleagues to Dubai to look at how to beautify our country and the national parks. And I remember spending so much time planting trees in the streets of Nairobi. I even count some of the trees I personally planted right here on Harambee Avenue and over here. And we started an initiative to plant trees and beautify. Now, a decision was made that there will be an expressway, the existing expressway that is there, and that the trees on Uhuru Highway, because the expressway was going to pass on top, had to be removed to allow for the expressway, and so that we have short bushes and brushes. And that was what was going on. It had nothing to do with cutting down the environment. We were planting many more trees and reorganizing many other things. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to go on record.
Something. Just a small point of order. You said you went to Dubai to see how to beautify a city. Dubai doesn't have any trees. It's a concrete jungle. So how did you learn that from Dubai?
We found that in Dubai, they have one of the best parks in the world with very big trees and amazing flowers and beauty that you can't believe it grows in a desert. And the challenge was, if it can grow in a desert, if this can grow in a desert, if you've been to Dubai, you've seen, you know, what they're able to do with the trees on the sideline, the palm trees and the forest, then you understand if you can do it in a desert, what about in a place where it rains more than the desert? And that was the lesson that was learned. Now, when it comes to my success in Machakos, I bought ambulances in Machakos that cut down the time it took from a person from being taken to hospital from the half an hour to 2 hours on a boda to 1 to 2 to 3 minutes. When you call an ambulance in Machakos during my tenure, it took 3 to 5 minutes. We had one of the fastest, if not the fastest, response rate in the continent of Africa. Very successful. And it was so successful that I was even given an award in Africa as the best governor in the continent of Africa. And the ambulances are still there in Machakos. And they're extremely successful. And the health system that I set up in Machakos, including building the first cancer ward, the cancer center, which treated people free of charge when you have cancer, to show that you don't have to have money to continue, has been quite successful. My track record in Machakos is known all over this country. And all you need to do is just visit Machakos when I was governor. And you could see the things that we did, the roads that we built, the markets that we established, the stadiums that we put together, and you'll be able to see the track record. There are naysayers, people in the opposite.
Yes, Nelson.
I don't know what's happening with Honorable Mbui and Honorable Mule. Is it something they know? Because they are laughing sheepishly.
Why are you giggling?
Or politics of Ukabani.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't want to make any comment, but I was member of parliament of Kadhiani, which is in Machakos, when the Honorable Mutua was governor. And I mean, this is sounding like a movie.
Mr. Speaker, you know,
Go on.
When I worked
Go on from where you left.
Yes, when I worked in Machakos, I did amazing things like build the People's Park, the ambulances, and there was a big opposition. And because I was talking and doing things that they only see in movies, they even started calling me Mutua Cinema because they only see it in movies. And the people of Machakos were so happy, regardless of their campaigning against me, that they re-elected me for a second term. Very, very successful. And I beat them hands down, actually. And so I would challenge, Mr. Speaker, the people of Machakos who benefited. In actual fact, Mr. Speaker, there's a small problem happening in Machakos right now. And that is that I was approached by the officer in charge of registration when I was completing my term and said that there's going to be a problem because a lot of children being born in Machakos are now called Alfred Mutua. But I said they are not mine. And they said it's because most of them now are born in ambulances that you put into place. Because before, in Machakos now you don't find children called Nzilani because they're born by the side of the road, you know, or others, because now people have that dignity. Moving on to the question of the squeezing of my hand, Mheshimiwa Ruto later introduced me to Mheshimiwa Nyonyi from Wanyama, who I felt his grip of the hand, and I realized it was not actually squeezing of there's a person who can really squeeze the blood out of your hands. And it was put during the political times. It was a political move at the time. Now about Turkey, I'm surprised by the comments made by...
It is not called Turkey, it's Turkey. It's only written Turkey, but it's pronounced Turkey.
Thank you.
That is the name of the country.
Thank you.
I believe you meant the country of Istanbul and Ankara.
Yes.
It's called Turkey in English, Turkey in Arabic.
Yeah, that's the country.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand guided.
Yeah.
It is only that lately they have been
and
trying
if you
to
add
push for
Kiswahili,
that.
it's called Uturuki.
Uturuki.
Yes.
So Turkey, Uturuki, Turkey, depending on who is mentioning it from their end. I met and the ambassador who came, and we galvanized support for Turkey. And even we involved different government agencies for Turkey. Sorry, we've been calling it Turkey, for Turkey. So I'm surprised saying that our officers are embarrassed, yet we are able to work with them. Even our president issued his condolences and talked of the support that we are working. And we've been worked very well with the ambassador from Turkey. I'll be surprised, even the ambassador will be surprised to hear of such. When I talked about all tourists planting trees, we said tourists will be given an opportunity and to urge the hotels that when...
because it is a matter that was in public domain and it came directly from the minister's handle, you could maybe explain how you delivered the goods, because according to them, nothing came. They are embarrassed to see the king. There is always everybody who promised delivered except Kenya. And it has put our nation at a very embarrassing position because of your comment.
Mean the food to Turkey?
Mr. Speaker, if I remember right, we even were able to galvanize blankets and rice and other items that were sent. So I'll look into it to find out where Honorable Caleb is receiving that information from. It's a surprise to me. I'm hearing it for the first time from him, because I've not heard of any complaints, and we worked very well as a government to help our brothers and sisters who have also always stood with us. And H is that tourists to plant trees. We issued and we say that we are going to encourage tourists coming to our country and hotels. And I had a meeting with the stakeholders to be given an opportunity to plant trees, and even came up with a formula which they have actually been using, where you are asked when you come in, do you want to add 20 shillings to your bill, so that that 20 or 50 shillings is for a tree where you can plant, and they can show you to plant. And that is something that now is starting to take traction as it continues.
So it was not physical planting of trees, it was fundraising for tree planting.
It was fundraising for tree planting, and for the ones who want to plant trees, we had even designated an area at Nairobi National Park, where people could go and plant trees, because some of them are so keen on the environment to go and plant. And the idea was to showcase where Kenya is in terms of environmental protection. It's an opportunity for people, and many people are very happy to be given that opportunity. And I know, honorable members, you've gone to places where after you make a payment, they ask you, do you want to add 50 shillings for this? Do you want to add 70 shillings for this? So it was that opportunity to be able to serve.
Point of order.
And lastly,
Was that money accounted for?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask, Speaker. When you said fundraise, was it an approved cabinet decision? And if it was, how much has been raised up to now?
sorry, Mr. Speaker, not fundraise, but be able to give people an opportunity. For example, if you come to a hotel and the hotel tells you, we have seedlings for you to be able to plant a tree. The seedling costs 50 shillings. Whether you can plant a tree or somebody plants a tree, do you want to contribute to it? You say no, that's it. You say yes, then you ask, do you want to be able to go and plant the tree, or do you want the hotel to plant the tree? So it's all about, and the government has been collecting numbers. It will be continue collecting numbers from all stakeholders who have engaged in tree
It's
planting.
like the little change you throw in a basket in a supermarket. Something like that?
So, yeah, but you're given an opportunity to say, yes, I want to be able to plant a tree myself. And many people opt to say, well, I don't have time to plant the trees, but can somebody else from the hotel plant the trees? And the hotels will be able to galvanize and say, as a hotel industry, we have planted these trees. And this is something we had agreed with the industry. So it was not just me speaking, it was about an agreement with the industry. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, and let it go on record here, because many dreams of our Kenyans are destroyed by selfishness of leaders. And forgive me for saying this. When we came up with a program of Machakos New City, we brought investors who signed MOUs worth 2.1 trillion shillings to bring investment not just in Machakos but across the country, using Machakos land that was available and other systems. And we started the process. Mheshimiwa Johnston Muthama and the Wiper Party went to court and got an injunction against us.
Point of order, Chairman. Point of order, Chairman. Because he's just named my party.
Let him finish.
He just mentioned my party.
I'll give you an opportunity.
Oh.
Let him finish what... And I want, go on, Nominee.
They went to court and put an injunction, and an injunction was issued by court that we cannot proceed with that program until the court rules otherwise. The court took 5 years. Justice delayed is justice denied. Despite that, we were able to continue. And when the court ruled, and remember it was Justice Odunga, because I have the court case, when he threw out that suit and said actually it had rendered the people of Machakos poorer over time because all those investments were lost. They went to Rwanda, they went to Ghana, they went to South Africa. Today, as we sit here, some of the problems we are facing with Gen Zs is because we've not been able to grow opportunities for them to work. That was a valid dream that was stopped by leaders who are more concerned about political clout of one another rather than taking care of the people of this country. We have to be able to be selfless to know that some programs you may not support them, but they are good for the country. And you support them because they provide employment and opportunities for others. We lost, the person who has built Dubai Mall, he came and he committed $400 million.
That is the one that had a component of Formula One?
Yes. The same component he had committed to put a sports city and hotel system and everything, and even connect the highway from Machakos all the way. He came, he met the president, he met us. I went to Dubai, we signed an MOU, and the MOU is still there with him. But when it went to court, he took his money to Rwanda, and the rest of the money he took to Angola. Who lost? The Kenyan poor. The Gen Zs who are demonstrating because of that.
What is your point of order?
My point of order, Chair, and I want Kenyans to listen keenly to this. Mr. Speaker, the nominee has accused the Wiper Party of taking him to court. Now, at the point when he came up with this proposal, he had just been elected as Governor Machakos County on a Wiper ticket. I was also elected as a member of parliament on the same party ticket. I was not involved in any issue to do with with a court case. Neither was a party, because the party decision would have been taken at the national election, the NEC Executive Council. So when he says that the Wiper party took him to court, he's being economical with the truth. I do agree that the senator of Machakos, who was also a Wiper member, may have been involved, but not the party. I would like to see some evidence that puts a party in court against him.
Let's settle that the senator who went to court belonged to Wiper party, but it may not have been the Wiper party that took him to court, so that we make progress. Who are the parties to the case? You say you have the case?
Yes, it was...
who was the plaintiff?
It was Senator Mudama.
Yes.
And to Senator Mudama, and when he went to court, he said he represented the views of his party and the party machinery. So I withdraw, and so we leave it as Senator Mudama. And but you see, Mr. Speaker, sir,
yes.
This was done because, from my perspective, I may be wrong. It was felt that if Mutua is able to achieve this greatness, then it will deny others clout. And I'm saying I may be wrong. I'm just saying that I felt that the reason that was stopped is because it was felt that I needed to be put in my place so that check. I do not overtake other leaders in terms of supremacy. So I just feel that it shouldn't have come to that.
Point of order.
Yes, Deputy Speaker.
I hope that the nominee knows that you're actually under oath, so you risk perjuring yourself. You do realize that. Free legal advice.
Can the nominee confirm he was chosen on which party in 2013? Was it Wiper or any other party?
He already said he was elected on Wiper.
Okay, let's make progress.
Order, Shuria.
I think, Chairman, I'll just suggest if the nominee could just stick to the issue of his, rather than just going into politics, just to save us time and also.
Yes, you have finished answering to all the counts on Mrs. charge sheet. Now let's go to Mishi. Yes, Mrs. He has answered everything, including the one that was sent in by a member of the public.
It's not a court case.
Yes.
The reason why I've pushed all those is because of your history. And you know, there is developmental stage. You can't just go to a country, copy something, and replicate here, and you think everything will work. So it puts the office you are holding in jeopardy, the name of the country, the name of the citizens, because of the theatrics manner or melodramatic manner you operate in your office. That's why I brought out those issues.
I'll take the next three. Mishi, Honorable Mishi, Honorable Shuria, and Honorable Raso.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, my question will be on Kenyans working as domestic workers in the Middle East, and I want to focus in Saudi Arabia. And my reference will be the gravity of the reports concerning the mistreatment of Kenyans working there, ranging from denying of food, beaten to death, taken to jail, under unnecessary circumstances. Honorable Chairman, just recently, and I want to say thank you to you because you're among those people who assisted me, together with the Cabinet Secretary, Prime Minister Musalia Mudavadi, to bring the body of one of my electorates, a lady who was working in Saudi Arabia, traveled with his employer to Egypt, and after 2 days, he died under unclear circumstances. It took us 1.5 months to have the body brought to Nairobi, then transferred to Mombasa. Honorable Chairman, I know there have been some reforms regarding the same issues, but I'm feeling that somehow there's no law enforcement, and I believe there are what we call international labor standards or labor laws, and we also have those who are domestic. And most of the time we are talking about this issue, we are putting some reforms, but yet nothing is being done. In the reports of that case which I've just mentioned, it has written that the death of this lady is under investigation. And this is not the first time. I had another previous case some months back, it had the same report that it is under investigation. But after that, there is no feedback, there is nothing, and it's just like that, and no justice is achieved on that. So my question is, do we have some protocol where it should be followed in case of such unfortunate happenings that the family maybe need to follow so that to ensure that they get the body at good time? For us as Muslim, you can imagine she was a Muslim and she had to stay in mortuary for almost 1.5 months for her to come back to Kenya. So I'm like, this is an area where we have to put some policies or rather some measures. And I know we have some impediment because some of the countries, maybe they are not subscribing to the United Nations and especially on universal human rights law. And that is why it became very difficult. We have been putting so many resolutions at the international level regarding this issue of human rights violation. But still these cases keep on happening each and every time. And yet we don't know. This family, they're just there. They get the body, nothing is being told to them, and sometimes even they don't get the belongings of that person. They just receive the body, and that is all. Some of them, they're denying their passport. The passports are confiscated. Some of them, they're rendered jobless. They had to go and sleep in the mosque and in the street in Saudi Arabia. So I think this is a matter which you really need to deal with. My second question...
He can only do so if he's confirmed.
Yeah, if you are confirmed, that is. And my second question is apply to address the challenges faced by online job seekers in Kenya, utilizing the Ajira platform which the government of Kenya Kwanza has initiated. But I know it has been marred by so many challenges from digital infrastructure, especially in the rural area, lack of digital literacy, fraudulent job seekers, job offers, whereby our youth have lost millions and nothing is being done on that. What kind of intervention will you implement to tackle these challenges and ensure equitable access to online employment opportunity to all our Kenyans and more so protect them from these fraudulent offers? On a light note, because now maybe you're going to be confirmed as Waziri for labor and social protection. Kenyans are thinking that you should minimize this drama, especially on your marital status, because somehow they can jeopardize your character or put you in a very negative situation. Because now we want to see that even our cabinet secretaries... You asked about opulence.
Order, Mishi.
Yes.
I think there is no requirement for one to be married to be considered for public office in this country.
I'm saying that drama, there'll be some drama. You have talked about opulence. You talked about opulence on Murchumba, Murkomen. You talked about opulence on Honorable Jogo.
This committee will not open anybody's bedroom. Sharia, stop laughing and ask a question.
I think, Chairman, it's best you protect people's bedrooms, as you said. We don't want those matters coming out here in the public. I think...
The nominee, you will not comment on that.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think Caleb came up with a very long list, and I just want to maybe in future he might get another opportunity. Mheshimiwa, if approved, what key results or deliverables can Kenyans expect from you in the short, medium, and long term? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Mishi has said. Honorable Raso and then Mule.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Alfred, you are the governor of Machakos, and also you are government spokesman. During those two stints, we were able to follow you. You were able to publicize what you are doing, the government agenda, when you are the spokesman. But once you were vetted by this committee and you appointed a cabinet secretary, you just slowly faded away. Is it that maybe it is comfort zone to be a cabinet secretary? Or the dockets that you occupy were not really engaging? because Article 152 clearly says what is cabinet. The president, the deputy president, the attorney general, and 14 to 21 cabinet secretaries. Those are the people who run government. And because of your background, we expected you to really support the government you are serving, particularly in advising them on the area of communication, because your PhD is on communication. So maybe you will comment on that. Honorable Speaker, I need to ask something on labor. Not preamble, because I am just asking 2 questions because of time.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Alfred, my second question, we had 2 generals in the army, the late General Mlinge, General Mahmoud. During the army recruitment, recruiting officers will go to an area and they will say, look out for this tribe, because they were looking out for the minorities, that minorities should not be excluded from the army. When we come to the ministry, if the House approves you, the ministry you are likely to go to, labor. Do we have systems in place to monitor, to evaluate, to look for minorities? Because I think it's not good enough to just speak on the radio, the social media, or the Gazette. And yet a lot of youngsters who are in the rural areas do not have access to many of these things. So if the House approves your nomination, what is it that you are likely to do? That there is regional balance, ethnic balance, and a lot of youngsters will be able to get opportunity in Kenya and even overseas. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much.
No Machakos drama.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I stand guided. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the nominee. This country, and I want you tell the civil servants in this government, there have been unrest in different cadres, doctors, nurses, lab technologists, electricians, whatever. And once there is unrest between labor disputes, there is always a negotiation and an agreement is arrived. But time and again, you will come and hear that the same union claiming that the government is not honoring the agreements. As you get into this ministry, can you tell Kenyans what will you do to make sure that every agreement between the civil servant and the government of the day are implemented to the letter, not to leave it just to unions, not to leave it to the ministry itself, not to leave it, even we saw the last one for doctors, whereby we have a ministry for labor, but the head of public service had to come in for negotiation. When we have a standalone ministry for labor, please, if you are approved by this committee, tell Kenyans today how you will do differently to make sure that we don't get this embarrassment to the employees of government.
Nominee, you can answer those from Honorable Mishi, Shuria, Raso, and Mule.
I want to agree with Honorable Mishi about the gravity of the issues. I have done my research and I've realized that our children are going to countries where we don't really have agreements with those countries about how to operate and what needs to be operated. There used to be a big problem also because I remember I sat on this seat, Mr. Speaker, and I promised that if confirmed and appointed as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, my first trip would be to Saudi Arabia, and I did that. I went to Saudi Arabia, I met Kenyans, I met people who are suffering, and we started the process of changing, and a bilateral labor agreement is to be signed between Kenya and Saudi Arabia and some of these countries, which I will push for. One of the things that I would like to do is also get lawyers, our lawyers from the Attorney General's office, to go to some of these countries and study and understand their laws. Because we need to know what we are dealing with. Because what we may think here is important may not be covered in their laws. So that we can also be able to know how to navigate those countries, because we can't go and impose our laws to them. And we see how we can work with them, especially if they are not signatories of international conventions that we are signatories to. And the protocols that need to be measured. And my apologies that, you've had to go through many of these challenges where people die and they can't even get their things to be brought back home. It is also important about online job seekers, going with the question by Honorable Ishungwa. It's all about communication, people to know how to do it. But I want to set up a proper portal that will answer many things so that you look at available opportunities, but also to weed out all these crooked agencies. We'll publish as a government a portal and lists, which you can even put in the newspapers, of the approved agencies. Because people keep on asking, is this right? Hii advertising ya Canada ni ukweli, hii ni ukweli. So that now any advertisement without the name of a company, we can be dealt with, according to the law, because they'll be lying to people. And if there's a name of a company, people can cross-check the government website or government documents and be able to verify that that is a recognized and proper company. And don't be surprised if we have to knock out a few companies and bring more in that are straightforward so that they don't lie to our people. So we're looking at a one-stop shop in terms of connecting people to jobs. Mheshimiwa Shurie, I was saving this for the end, but thank you for your very good question. And that is that I want to change how workers view the workspace. I want people to be comfortable when they go to work. I want to be able to get employers to provide for the employees good working conditions. Whether you're a house help, a doctor, a security guard, everybody, you should feel that you have got a system that protects you and that you work in a good environment. I also want to work with the employers so that we can see what we can do as government, remove some bureaucracy so that they can expand. I want to call upon them and see how we can be able to create an opportunity for them to employ more people, cut down or maybe forego some little profit to employ one or two people using the principle of consumer spending so that you get more people, spending people in the market to grow the industry. So I want to look at some of those things. The labor migration, I want to move the numbers from the ones that are there to about 5,000 a week. If we can get there to 10,000 a week eventually, people going overseas. But to do this, I want to work closely with all of you. I want to work closely with all members of parliament. I want it to be constituency-led so that we can have quotas and we know that this constituency where you come from, where all members of parliament come from, can provide people who we can now send overseas so that you as leaders can take the lead in identifying and maybe helping people on the ground to be able to be recruited to go overseas and get jobs. When it comes also to BPOs, setting up centers, we don't want somebody to come all the way from Nyanza, where Mheshimiwa Junet comes from, to Nairobi to get an online job or to get a job in a call center. We'd like to set up call centers in every constituency so that you can be able to see how it's working. Because now with internet connectivity, you don't need to be in the big cities for you to be able to get some of these opportunities. When it comes to Employment Act, we need to overhaul the Employment Act. We have offices across that will need to look at how they perform and how they work. And I want to motivate my staff to work well. And the issues of social protection, we have to ensure that our people do not fall through the cracks. We want to be able to provide opportunities for our people so that COVID has taught us when there's hardship, there's something to be able to to fall back into. In the United States, in Australia and other developed countries, there's even money given to people who are unemployed, unemployment benefit. We are not there yet, but we can start putting the structures to get there by getting a lot of these laws and policies that are pending to be fast-tracked so that we can increase entertainment. Mheshimiwa Caleb talked about my interest in the film industry. And, you know, Hollywood was not built by money from donors, but by money from entertainment. And this is an area we can galvanize on, you know, get the entertainment sector to grow in our country. It can be a huge employer. The sports industry, I'll work with many of my colleagues to ensure that there's job creation, because as a Minister of Labor, we are cross-cutting in terms of ensuring that people are able to work. There's a question about equity and expanded government. And one of the things that I'd like to do is that we have to start publishing data that shows the inclusion of everybody in our government in different areas. I think that is critical, so that people may have the idea that they are not included. It's good for them to know that they're included. So that's one thing that I'd like to do, is constant publishing of data. There was a question about, Shri asked me about the question, or Raso, Mheshimiwa Raso, about comfort zone. I'm not in a comfort zone. But you see, when you're a governor, you head your own government. So you can shout as much as you want. When you're a government spokesperson, you have the authority to speak as much as you can. When you work as a cabinet secretary, you are also toned down kidogo, because you're working for a boss or bosses. But I think the lessons that we've learned is that we really need to communicate. And I want to promise the country that you'll see the Mutua who communicate much more, especially in this new docket, if confirmed and sworn in. Thank you. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, Mheshimiwa Mule had a very good suggestion. Thank you very much. And the civil servants' unrest and the work conditions. The Labour Ministry will be dealing as an arbitrator, even looking at the public service and holding the public service to account in terms of what they do in terms of these agreements. I saw it in Machakos. As soon as I enacted the agreement that we had agreed on, the nurses and doctors were very happy with me. They took their riots elsewhere. So don't enter into an agreement, is what I'll be telling everybody, that you know you cannot meet. You know, and it's good. And our Kenyans are reasonable, especially if you meet them early. And it is harder to sort out an issue when people are on the streets. It is easier to sort out an issue before strike notice is issued. And I'm going for that early warning system, so I can work with the industry. And some of them have already reached out to me. They're saying, if you're appointed, if you are vetted and you go through, we'd like to come and meet you, because they are festering wounds. And so I'll open my door to meeting. And so we tone down all of these issues. I submit.
Chairman.
Nelson Koech. Yes, Posing.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. Nominee Honorable Mutua. My question is this. If you look at the ministry, or when people look at the ministry you are going in, not your ministry, should you be approved? Ministry of Labor and Social Services. People only see the minister. There's an argument that people only see the minister during strikes. So it's almost being called what somebody told me. It's called a strikes ministry or a firefighting ministry. That's the only time people can be able to engage or see the minister for this Ministry of Labor and Social Services. Honorable Mutua, tell Kenyans who are watching you and us and this committee to be able to look at how to analyze you for suitability in accordance with Section 7 of the Act. What else is expected of this ministry that Kenyans don't know? Maybe they have not been communicated, or Kenyans can expect from you, so that they don't see Honorable Mutua today in the vetting. Should you be approved? They only see again Honorable Mutua during what? Firefighting, when there's a strike in this country, then they see, oh, there's somebody called Mutua. What else will Kenyans expect out of you, Honorable Mutua, within your ministry that is not of strike? Thank you, Speaker.
Kikaria.
Thank you, Chair. There are industries that exploit workers, mostly the casual labor, by paying them below the stated remuneration rates, denying them the union rights and health benefits, exploiting them to unsafe work, exposing them to unsafe working environment. What measures will you take to address this? And secondly, it's about the street families. Now with the new constitution, we used to have the Rehabilitation Trust Fund, but that was run under the Local Government Act, which is no longer in force. But the street families keep on growing day by day. What action will you take first to reduce these numbers or even to address, because most of these families, not that they don't have, you find kids on the streets, but they go back home, or even now find a family, a mother with children on the streets. So what are you going to do to address this very, very needy issue that we need to take our kids back to school? Thank you, Honorable Chairman.
Answer those two quickly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to say that in terms of labor and social protection, I agree with Mheshimiwa Kosing that people only seen when there are riots. Now, I'm going to go around this country. I want to visit all the constituencies to talk to Kenyans and especially young people about the opportunities that are there. Kenyans are not lazy. Our young people are very active and very smart and very sharp, but they need opportunities, not handouts. And so I'll be traveling to all the counties. You'll see me. I'll be very heavily on media, telling to them about the jobs, the kind of skill development. I'll also be looking at the working conditions of factories. Do not be surprised if 1 or 2 or 3 factories are shut down because of poor working conditions that go even against the international tenants, because we have to make sure that our people are respected in the way they work. In terms of even employment and the benefits, there's the issue of the 6% increment that the president offered that is still pending, and it's, I think it will be on my desk. I'll be able to sit down with FKE. I've had a chat with Kotu, Mheshimiwa Atwoli. I've talked to the employers. We're looking, and they have told me all the problems as I was doing my research, and I'll be able to sit down, bring everybody together, and gazette in the salaries that they deserve because of the state of the economy, and be able to improve that and make sure that those are met. So I'll be very, very active, Mheshimiwa, and I think you'll be very proud of me and the work that I'll be able to, if I'm confirmed. Mheshimiwa Gikaria, I think I've answered the same question because it is important for us. Now, in street families, I was very active as government spokesperson to try and work on a system of removing street families and rehabilitating them. I want to go back to some of the programs that we started at that time in the government of Mwai Kibaki. And my investigation has shown that it has become no more, no more process. I've looked at the different acts and laws that are there, and it's all about implementation. We are going to set up a target as a country and say that by this time, we need to have done A, B, C, D so that we don't have street families, and be able to rehabilitate and even take people back to the countryside where they came from so that we can reunite them with their families, so that people can continue working with their families the way we are doing in the children's sector. Instead of taking people to orphanages, we reunite them with the families. Mheshimiwa Mbui will be very happy to know that we are building, we want to develop a model rehabilitation center in Mboko, which is very close to Kadiani. That
you are building?
A rehabilitation center in Mboko. There's 20 acres there. I'll be sourcing for funds from development partners and others so that we have a place whereby these children can go before they are taken back to their families to be trained and taught, and also growth and a follow-up system so that we remove them. It is quite sad, like now it's very cold, to find people suffering in the streets, and we'll need to put up shelters that they do in other places whereby people can go and receive some food, and that's safety net for the very poor in our country. I submit.
Chairman, I have one stressing, just one, a small one, very stressing.
Yes.
All of us as a country. Kuna hili swala moja, waziri mteule, iwapo utachaguliwa katika wizara hii ya wafanyakazi, kuna swala nyeti ambalo wafanyakazi wa EPZ walijiunga katika chama cha wafanyakazi. Na hivyo sasa kufikia sasa wafanyikazi 4,000 wamefutwa kazi katika viwanda viwili vya EPZ huko eneo bunge la Changamwe kwa kujiunga na chama cha wafanyikazi, na hata wizara yako ina taarifa hiyo. Kwa hivyo tunaomba iwapo utaweza kuchaguliwa, uangalie swala hili litaweza kutatuliwa na kuona haki za Wakenya hawa zimefanikishwa. Asante, Mheshimiwa Spika.
Yes, Owen.
Honorable Speaker, the nominee, briefly, just tell us about your vision for the NSSF. I think it is an area that has not been touched.
Daud. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you're confirmed, how will you pursue qualifications, equivalency, so that our qualified Kenyan professionals can move across the globe and sort the menace of unemployed professionals such as doctors and others? This is a question from one of the Kenyans.
There's one.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Just a quick one. Nominee, National Employment Authority. No wonder you didn't know whether it exists. Actually, it is somewhere in Kasarani. Just in case you are confirmed, it must be at a central place where all Kenyans will be able to access it.
Mishi?
Just one, Mheshimiwa Speaker, just one from a Kenyan. On the collective labor bargaining agreements, wondering why they are never implemented, and that's what makes workers keep on seeking attention of the authorities every other day, and especially the presidential pronouncements on Labor Day. There is always an increment, but it's never implemented. Like last time is 6%, is it 8%? But up to now, it's not been implemented. So what difference are you going to make in that regard?
Nice.
Chair.
Someone is asking, there are quotas for people living with disability in the constituencies for a certain number of people living with disability to get the stipend. And the question is, where do we take the rest in our country? Just like the old who, when they turn 70, it should be automatic upon medical confirmation, then all people living with disability in our constituencies should be taken on board. And the last question is, kindly ask Alfred Mutua this question. Upon confirmation, you should go to those foreign countries and negotiate with tech companies to allow Kenyan citizens work for them from Kenya without using VPNs and residential proxies. There are a lot of job opportunities in the tech industry, but we can't access them due to location restriction. There are very many, from transcription, captioning, machine learning, data entry, chatting, software development, etc., instead of exporting labor.
Chair.
We must.
Thank you. Yes. This is from a Kenyan who actually states that the nominee is excessively abrasive, especially to junior officers, and quotes an incident at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora where you actually threw out officers from the parking lot for no good reason whatsoever and without any consultations. These were junior officers. Is that true?
Speaker, just one from the teachers.
Yes, Mule.
This is from the teachers' fraternity in Kenya. They are asking, let them, you tell them how you will avert the incoming strike, because you have said you want to arrest the strikes before they happen. So they want to hear the mechanism which you will use when you are approved. Then they are also saying that kindly ask Dr. Mutua, he made pronouncement that resulted up on Kenyan troops going to Haiti when he visited the US. Does he regret making such deals which later landed him in trouble with the head of state to the extent he was shifted to another docket? How true that it is, I don't know, but it's from the public.
That you, Mule, you are not being fair to Mutua, the nominee. The Kenyan police going to Haiti was approved by Parliament, so it can't be his responsibility. Yes.
Yeah, it's only one short one. On there's a constituents asking about what the nominee will do if approved about those rogue labor officers who are at the ground there, who are compromised by most of these industrialists.
Yes, nominee, can you very quickly respond to those?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll start with the Honorable Lesuda's issue about quotas for people with disability. This is true. It is quite unfortunate, and I find it very, in my research, unfair that you only give in to a certain percentage in a household and not to everyone. So one of the things I'll do is make sure that it is everyone that is covered. And we roll it out according to the finances that we have. It should go to all, not just few. The President has given directives that we increase the numbers by 500,000, and I'm going to make sure that these are captured in there. The other thing is to work also with Parliament to see, not Parliament, but Treasury, the monies that are recovered out of attrition, people die, so they can be rolled into other programs without them having to go back to Treasury and never coming again. In terms of tech, that's what I was talking about, the BPOs. And yes, I'll travel. I'll send meetings. I don't even have to go anywhere anymore because you can travel by Zoom nowadays and get those jobs here. We need the jobs here. In as much as we also want Kenyans to go overseas, we want to have those jobs in Kenya. And so we're going to remove all the bottlenecks, and I'll have a cabinet paper to remove the bottlenecks and provide opportunities for people here. Murugara, you had a question about being abrasive. That is somebody just being mischievous and trying to use this house. People love me very much. All my employees, you go to Ministry of Tourism, you go to Foreign Affairs, you go to everywhere I've worked, employees love me.
Allow them to say so.
I'm very, self-declaration.
Yes.
Because I really care. And I've always talked about the welfare of employees. One time I'm on record asking, inakuasha nini kama mwenzako anapata nyongeza ya mshahara ama anapata cheo nyingine? Inakuasha nini if your fellow worker moves forward? Why do we keep on constraining people so they cannot get promotions? Why does it, that person is a father and a mother to somebody else? So I have very good working conditions. What happened in Foreign Affairs and Mheshimiwa Speaker, you know, you've served there, is that there are vehicles all parked outside the parking lot, such that it looked like a car park instead of an office, because they have parking lots. And I got in, I said, you cannot have the image of the Foreign Office where you have ambassadors coming, foreign dignitaries, and the cars are covering everywhere.
Looking like a terminus.
Yeah, looking like a terminus. And so we said we move the cars away and the ministry to provide another place for the cars to be parked. And that is what has happened. But you know, people, they don't want change. They want that comfort. And they didn't understand. Now, if you try to take the cars back there, they'll fight you. They'll tell you, no, we like it the way it is now, because it looks better. So it was a good move. That is somebody who is just mischievous and trying to take these opportunities. But I remember when I left Foreign Affairs, some officers came to see me and they were crying. They were sad I was leaving. So I don't understand about being abrasive. I'm very, very polite to everyone. About the teacher strike, Mheshimiwa Mule, I'm going to call for a meeting if I go through this process and meet with them. And I want to tell teachers in this country that I will listen to you. I respect teachers and will iron out. There are no issues, because even if you do a strike, even if you do maandamano, you will still have to sit down. Why don't we sit down early and sort these issues? And I'm very fair, and I'll ensure fairness. And in terms of the issues of qualifications and verification, we have a skill development system that I've studied and I've looked at it. I'm going to enhance it, because what happens is that you want to be a doctor in Australia, even though you're in the Commonwealth, you still have to go through rigorous testing. And so it's to enter into agreements that you can go and work in these other places without having to go through the same retesting. But that is also improving the quality of how we do things in our country. Submit.
Nominee, I've also received a few issues from Kenyans out there watching this. They ask, will you ensure that employees insure their employees, so the employers insure their employees? What are you going to do about skewed funding between Child Welfare Society and Children's Department? UHC staff who have been on contract for long with half salaries, what are you going to do that? Where some elder Kenyan has said